Hopefully that little reset did the job. I do apologise for anyone that was coming in live already. Sometimes, obviously, running an internet program, we get some little glitches along the way. So it's all part of the process. So hopefully that's done the thing, and we're all good to go now. We're going to start in a couple of minutes. Let us know, guys, if you are coming back in, getting involved. Like I said, I do apologise for the slight glitch there. And hopefully we can continue on and everything is good as normal. Hey, Mikey boy, mate, it was good that we accidentally buggered it up, mate, because now we can bring you in. It's where all the rage is, brother. Love what you're doing inside of the pod there this morning as well, Mikey, I've got to say. It's very, very cool. So, guys, if you are rejoining, let us know. Hey, Steve, sorry about that, mate. I do apologise. You got a day off, Steve, by the way. What's the scoop there, mate? You're easy for a few days or what? Bit of rejoined. Yeah, you got it, Chriso. Yeah, a bit of R&R, Steve, or what's going on, mate? Or are you on the road? By the way, Steve, can you hit me and let me know when we're coming on to do your episode, guys? All right, we're going to start this one in 1 minute, and we're going to take off where we left off, and it's going to be an episode onto the 6-week sprint, and that's where we're going to start it. Good morning, Nikki. Just finished gym. Just finished, not another person in sight. Wow, really? That's strange. Hello, Jen. How are you? Good morning, Jen. I hope you've had a beautiful start to the day. And things are looking rosy in the UK. All right, so shall we get into it, team? Again, apologies for the little delay there, but I think we are ready to rock and roll this time round. A little bit of an on and off switch and we're good to go. Okay, guys, let's do this. So on the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to the Better Body Academy podcast. This is the #1 podcast if you are sick of the dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs. And in today's episode, I'm going to be doing an episode predominantly for our Better Body Academy members. And it's to do with a little challenge that we're kicking off inside of the Academy today. And we're kicking this off to add a little bit of energy and boom into the Academy. The other big thing is that what I'm really focusing on over the course of the next few weeks is making sure that all of our members are embracing resistance training as a pursuit. Because I think that, it's really great to be focusing on nutrition. And as you know, for anyone else that's in the Academy, nutrition is the spear point of our trifecta system. That said, if you're doing and focusing on nutrition exclusively, what tends to happen is over a period of time, from calorie restriction, your metabolism starts to slow down a little bit. So what we're doing is trying to push those rates at which you burn calories, even when you're doing nothing. We're trying to push them up. In other words, we're trying to lift your metabolism. And really the only known way to do that is to engage in some resistance training, build a bigger engine, and then hopefully get things firing over the long term. Resistance training is indeed the only way to increase the amount of calories that you're going to burn, so thus giving you a little bit more wiggle room on the nutrition side. It's got multiple importances. What about our composition? If we are kind of feeling that impending, what do you call it? Skinny fat or dad bod. Look, a lot of that's not to do with the fact that we're carrying a lot of fat all the time. It's to do with the fact that we don't have any, muscle tone or composition underneath that fat. So even if we are carrying a few excess kilos more than we want to, if we are building a bigger engine and getting physically stronger, that has repercussions into all areas of life. And we should be including resistance training. It's the gift that keeps on giving. If you compare it to, cardio training certainly has incredibly good heart benefits, which is something that we should include in our system. That said, the moment that you stop doing the cardio, the benefit stops. And when I say that resistance training is the gift that keeps on giving, what I mean by that is that if you're building a bigger engine, you're building a bigger motor, that means that that's here to stay. And so it keeps giving. It means that when you're on holidays in Europe or the Caribbean or the Whitsunday, sunning yourself, having a few beers, you can do so with an engine that is burning calories at a higher rate. This is the long-term game, and this is why we are putting a focus on resistance training for these next 6 weeks with the 6-week sprint. Okay? So this podcast is mainly for members of the BBA, and that's the reason why we're doing it. That said, if you're not in the BBA and you feel like you're lacking focus, maybe you need to reach out and we'll see if we can help. So what I'm going to do, guys, is give you 5 tips this morning for navigating the next 6 weeks successfully. Because one of the things is when we hype up a certain thing, a lot of us suffer from what's called shiny object syndrome. Do you guys know what that is? Shiny object syndrome. Because it's the 6-week sprint and because there's a lot of focus and energy around this at the moment, of course, everyone's hyped, everyone's pumped. Across both academies, we've got close to 100 people that have said, we're going to participate in this sprint, we're going to get emotionally involved in it for the 6 weeks period. But the problem is that inevitably we're going to experience some difficulties in the way, and if we're not prepared when those difficulties come along, what tends to happen is we fall off the wagon, and that has, short to medium term consequences. So I'm going to give you 5 tips for navigating the 6-week sprint over the course of the rest of this podcast. Tip number one, and I'm speaking directly to the boys and girls that are watching this live. Let's you ask the question, okay? I want you to play along with me in the question here. Have you got a plan going into the week? I'm just going to really keep this simple, guys, and practical. Have you got a plan going into the week? One of the things that I noticed so far, the difference between the women's group and the men's group, is catalyzed by one of our members, Amy Brown, who basically took a table on a piece of paper and wrote out her week, including her meal plan. She wrote out the days that she's going to be training. She blocked in when she's going to be having rest, when she's going to be working, and she's got a plan going into the week. And what actually happened was 5 to 10 other women saw that and they were like, whoa, that's really awesome. There was nothing groundbreaking about it, only that Amy used the initiative to do what we always tell you guys to do, and that is to pre-plan your week. I mean, when you think about it, you have roughly the same schedule for the most part, week on week, and even if you work shift works and that's not true for you, you generally know 2 or 3 days in advance, where things are going to be in 2 or 3 days. So you can at least plan out half the week or a second half of the week. So it's really important that we do this. And the reason is that studies, into habit forming behavior show repeatedly that what happens is when someone physically commits to something, the chances of them actually following through are so much higher than someone that just verbally commits to it. And let me explain what I mean by the difference. Verbally committing is, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that. We've all said that before, and how many of us follow through on everything that we say that we're going to do? Obviously, it's very rare. However, when we go and we take I'm going to do, and we put that down onto a piece of paper, as Amy did, and many of the women for the group have done, they've put it down onto a piece of paper, what their week's going to look like, just that extra level of kind of, analytical thinking about, that's not going to work that day because remember I've got to take the kids to footy, and that's not going to work that day because I've got to be home early to pick up the kids from daycare or whatever it is. Just that little bit of extra effort to plan in your week. And I'm talking 5 minutes, guys. When you do that, that increases the chances of you being successful. So that's the first tip. Now, how do you do it and what should you plan? Well, in terms of what you should plan, I would suggest planning most likely your sessions, so your workout sessions, because that's what the sprint is all about, first and foremost, your resistance training sessions. The second thing you should plan out is your meals. So when are you going to be having, what are you going to be having? If you're within your first 4 weeks in the academy, you should be following the fat loss Kickstarter. If you're beyond the first 4 weeks of the academy, you should be following the freedom eating formula. And one of those two scenarios will apply to you, and whichever one, you need to know in advance rather than being reactive as far as your meals are concerned. I guarantee you this first suggestion, guys, is huge. So how do you plan it? Well, if you're old school, you can go old school. You can get a piece of paper like Amy did, draw a couple lines on it Monday to Sunday and block them in. That's the simplest way to do it. If you want to go a step further and you're more kind of technical, or you like to use apps or whatever like I do, I personally think that Google Calendar is the best way to schedule everything in. That's what I do because it means that I can share it with my partner. That said, if you want to schedule your workouts, another great way to do it is inside of our BBA app. So if you go to the schedule section, you can manually enter in when you're going to be doing your workouts. Just play around with it. We're not going to go into it now, but just go and put the sessions in. Do that. Please do that, guys. That's the first tip, is schedule in your workouts. It increases the likelihood that you will follow through. Suggestion 2 for navigating the 6-week sprint well. Don't overreach. Now, let me explain what I mean by this. Don't overreach. What I mean is that if you try to use this period to be like absolutely perfect and go crazy and overcommit from the start, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do 5 days of training each week, and then I'm going to do a personal training session in there as well, and I'm going to do some cardio. I'm going to eat clean, and I'm going to do this. I can tell you straight away, that is a plan to fail. How can you possibly think that you're going to go from largely nothing to working like an athlete? It doesn't work like that. So I think if you've got two options, option one is, commit to going crazy 5 days a week, 2-hour sessions, meal plans are on perfect. And what ends up happening is you reach Saturday or Sunday this week and you think to yourself, that was exhausting, I can't keep that up, and you give up. So what actually happens is you're doing a 6-week sprint, you do week 1 incredibly well, but you don't have the energy and the sustainability to continue it through weeks 2 to 6. So it doesn't make sense. This is why I'm always saying, team, consistency over intensity. What I'd prefer you to do is, if you're used to training no days a week or 1 day a week, or you're just getting started, a far smarter way to go about this is to commit to 3 days. Those 3 days can be whenever you want. If the only 3 days you can do is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, do it. What time? If the only time you can do it is when your husband comes home or your partner comes home and it's 8 o'clock at night, do it. Whenever you can do it. There's no rules. No one, if the fitness industry creates these stupid rules around meal timing and training timing, they're irrelevant, guys, actually. The best time to train is when you feel like you can fit it in. So for this reason, what I want you to do is have a look at your week, plan it in, and don't overcommit. Not only will this mean that you last out the full 6 weeks, which is what the intention of the sprint is to give you a manageable 6 weeks to commit to. That's the first reason. But actually the deeper reason that we're doing this, guys, is this. I want to help you build some trust and self-belief in yourself. And if you've been around this academy for any period of time, you know one thing, and that is that trust and self-belief, inner confidence, is built by saying that you're going to do something and doing it. So actually, rather than committing to 5 days and trying to be perfect and then being surprised when you fall off, what you're far better to do is commit to 3 days. And then if come the weekend, you've done your 3 sessions, you're feeling amazingly inspired and you want to go and do a 4th session, perfect. Then do it. But the difference psychologically is you tried to do 5 days, you couldn't do it, and so you feel like a failure, versus you committed to 3 definite days, you ended up doing 3 or 4, thus you proved you're the sort of man or woman that says what he or she says they're going to do and does it. This builds incredible self-confidence. And if you do this for 6 weeks, if you say that you're going to do 3 sessions a week, you plan those 3 sessions in, you do those 3 sessions, and you come out of this 6-week sprint having done 6 times 3 sessions a week, 18 sessions, and you prove that you're the sort of person that says they're going to do that and you do it. This is going to give you a huge amount of confidence going into the back part of this period. So please, guys, don't overreach from the start. Okay, we're here to focus on resistance training. Make that your thing. Tip number 3. I want you to use this 6 weeks to set what I'd call an accountability benchmark for yourself. Okay, let's just break down what I mean here. It's very simple. A lot of us have, and it's been really a thing from our live coaching that's been happening over the course of the last couple of weeks, that, you know, ladies and gents feeling like, oh, I don't want to be posting too much into the group because I don't want to be seen as a hassle or a pain in the ass or someone. Guys, lose that, okay? Repeat after me. If you're at the gym right now and you're listening to this podcast, or you're sitting on the couch, or you're nursing the baby, or whatever you do, repeat after me. The only way to get accountability is to create accountability. I'm going to say it again. The only way to get accountability is to create accountability. And so the way you create accountability is, rather than sitting there and waiting for someone to say, hey, Christy, how's your week going? Instead, you say, hey, Jason, hey, coaches, this is how my week is going. You document your process. Accountability is a outward thing. That's how you create it. Christy's saying it and I'm going to highlight it here. The only way to get accountability is to create accountability. Over the course of the last couple of days, I've done 2 live coaching calls inside of our women's group for a couple of our ladies that have just been struggling a little bit with their motivation, okay? The conclusion from those 2 calls, or one of the conclusions that come out of those 2 calls, is that they went missing. When you go missing on your own accountability and you don't turn up, what that means is that I know straight away what's happening. You're feeling like a failure. You've got yourself into a hole because you feel like a failure. You feel guilty for feeling like a failure. Because you feel guilty and you know that you should offer yourself some compassion, but you still feel annoyed. You feel guilty about feeling like a failure. And so you feel annoyed about feeling guilty and about a failure. And it becomes this, like, what's called a meta feelings. You're going deep, 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 digging yourself these holes. Instead, I want you to commit to this simple act. And I challenge you guys. There's prizes for it. Pop up onto the group. Just one post a day. It can be anything. But I'd love to see a little gym selfie. I'd love to see a PR that you've hit. Whatever it is, be accountable and use this 6 weeks as a benchmark that you're going to set for yourself going forward. I guarantee you the support that you're going to get from your fellow Academy members is going to be amazing, and it's going to help you feel motivated. And I'm speaking direct to people like Carol, who joined our Academy yesterday. I'm speaking direct to people like Warren Todd and Steve Hopley. You guys that are new to the Academy, don't worry about judgment. Rip the fucking scab off and get involved. Tip number 4, and we're coming to the end of this list. Break new ground, okay? To those of you that have never been in a gym before, okay? I noticed that quite a few of you who've never set foot in a gym before asked for programs or identified to the coaches that you've actually just signed up to a gym. This is cool. This is so cool. Coming into this week, even this morning perhaps, you're going to feel that little bit of sense of procrastination or fear of judgment, okay? What I want you to do is just rip the scab off, okay? I want you to break new ground. Whilst there is all of this energy around this 6 weeks inside the Academy from both the coaches and your fellow BBA members, while there is this energy, I want you to use that energy to create leverage for you to start documenting into the group and start doing things that are outside of your comfort zone, okay? I'm not suggesting going to the gym 17 times a week, as I said at the top. What I'm asking you to do is use this as a period where you just go, you know what? If now, then when, okay? I'm going to start posting into the group. I'm going to start ripping the scab off this. I'm going to create momentum around me and build upon the energy that is inside this group right now. That is number 4 and number 5, okay? And this one goes out a little bit more to the more intermediate or experienced members inside the group. And in my mind here, what I am doing is thinking of Mr. Terry Holden, our sexy, middle-aged, dominant team captain inside of the group, Terry hit a deadlift PB last week. And even after being in the academy and losing over 20 kilograms, he's been in the academy for over 12 months. He's just hit a deadlift PB. You know why he just hit a deadlift PB? This is the reason why. He's pushing himself because he's now responsible for a little messenger pod of guys that he needs to lead and keep in front of. Terry is now one of our BBA ambassadors, so he wants to make sure that he's leading by example. So to you guys who are in the intermediate to more advanced stages of your transformation, guys and girls, what I want you to be focusing on is tiny little wins. So if you've been tracking inside the app for a period of time your workouts, you should have a history of what you've lifted, both in terms of reps and in terms of weight lifted, okay? I want to see you coming in and documenting any PRs that you're getting. And it might be something simple. I don't want you to kind of, try to squat 100 kilos if you've only done 40 to this point. But what I'm saying is that have a look for the little extra 2 kilos that you might be able to squeeze out of this lemon. Find that little extra couple of reps that perhaps you'd normally give up on because you don't have a spotter or you're training by yourself. Where can you squeeze this lemon just this little bit more? So guys, let's go to the top of this, okay? This podcast episode is all about how to navigate our 6-week sprint. The reason we're doing this 6-week sprint is because we need to put resistance training on the table. If you don't want to be dad bod or skinny fat, you need to be working on building a bigger engine. This is going to coincide with an upcoming workshop called the Engine Upgrade, which, as you can agree, it's going to be all to do with building a bigger engine and how to do that through resistance training. So I'm going to give you the 5 tips in point form that I want you to follow for this week. Number 1, if you don't already have a plan going into the week, get a plan done this morning, okay? Get it into Google Calendar or on a piece of paper, whatever is easiest and most practical for you. Just put 5 minutes into planning out when your workouts are going to be. Number 2, don't overreach from the start, okay? Don't overcommit to, 5 or 6 sessions when at the moment you're not training at all. I want you to feel the win. I want you to feel the increase in self-belief that comes with saying that you're going to do 3 sessions and doing those 3 sessions. If at the end of the week you've put a tick in the box, you're going to feel awesome. And that's what this is about. It's not about overreaching. Number 3, I want you to use this as your accountability benchmark. I want this to be the week that you start documenting into the group. And to these people that have been around for a long time inside the academy, this is a chance for you to pull yourself back into momentum. Stop sitting on the sidelines. Get off the fucking fence. Let's see it. Pop it onto the group. What are you doing? What are you training? How are your sessions going? Number 4, I want you to break new ground. If you've never been in a gym before, I want you to capitalize on the energy that's in the group for these next 6 weeks and push yourself outside of your comfort zone. And to the more experienced people, number 5 is look for those little PRs. Look for those little kind of extra reps that you can squeeze. Maybe a little bit of extra intensity techniques with a few drop sets thrown in there. Or maybe just adding on 2 to 5 kilograms and getting a film of you doing your best ever lift, as long as you're staying, injury-free and lifting smart. This is an opportunity to push outside of your comfort zones. Guys, that's a quick fire podcast this morning. Hopefully it's practical and energetic going into this week. I would also like to say, this day is a very sentimental day in the calendar of Australian and New Zealand people. So to our Anzac diggers and their families, I want to say my greatest respects on behalf of all of our Better Body Academy members. Certainly the life that we have living in the country that we reside in, and some of us that travel overseas come back to frequently, is so, I can't even put into words, of course. It is just, all to do with the sacrifices of those men and women. Guys, I'm going to sign out for today. This has been the Better Body Academy podcast, the number 1 podcast that you come to when you are sick of the dumb diets, you're off the unsustainable workout programs, and you want to join our 6-week sprint. I will see you throughout the week.